So some time ago, a younger colleague asked me a yes or no question on whether there was such thing as Nigerian architecture. And after much explanation and connecting the dots, I concluded with no, there is no one thing as Nigerian architecture. And after that conversation, that question lingered with me. And I've pondered over it over and over to come to the conclusion that even though there is no such architecture as Nigerian, there is, however, Nigerian architecture. But before I explain what that means, or before I clarify that, in architecture school, there is a course that is tied around Nigerian vernacular architecture. In practice, that morphed to the traditional Nigerian building style. And while I've also been a part of all of this, I think it's a wrong summation. I think we've been approaching this question wrongly. And this is why I say so. Number one, architecture is language. Architecture is culture, that's two. Number three, architecture is art. So if we consider the Nigerian cultures, the Nigerian languages, the Nigerian arts that exist in different modes of expression, how then do we want to depict the architecture of those different cultures as a singularity? So if we cannot bring the whole of Nigerian culture, Nigerian art, Nigerian tradition, Nigerian music, Nigerian languages under one singular umbrella, why then do we want to dab one particular style of architecture on it? The second reason is political, and I will not go into details, I'll just gloss over it. The entity called Nigeria exists as a singular entity, only politically. And despite that, it still doesn't exist as a single description. The best we've had is an expression of it in regions. And so also, we've had architecture in Nigeria exist as an expression of those regions. So we've had Kano architecture, which is what we use when we want to describe the northern architecture. Yes, I know for people like us who are not from that region, we classify it as one. Same way, somebody from other regions will classify the western Nigerian architecture as Yoruba architecture, which is obvious in the Osun, Ondo, Ekiti, and Ibadan architecture. Then we have the eastern. The eastern architecture as represented by Enugu, Ebonyi, Anambra, and Co. Then we have the architecture of the Great Benin Empire. I know a lot of people will disagree with this summarized categorization because it's more nuanced than just jacketing it under one umbrella. But I believe that actually makes the point that it's then unfair to want to jacket the expressions of these languages, the expression of this music, the expression of this culture, of this tradition by a singular architecture. So, if architecture is a way of life, it should reflect the lifestyle of the people. I think it's time to stop chasing singularity and start embracing the diversity, the multiplicity that makes up the Nigerian fabric, and use architecture to reflect it. I hope this helps.